Alright everyone, Cowboy Trades here, welcome back to the channel for a quick update on GALA games. So things are looking pretty shaky right now. In the lower time frames we are making some bearish continuation patterns, while in the higher time frames we are really not that far away from the bear market lows. Now before we do dive into the GALA analysis, I do just want to highlight it is not only GALA in terms of the altcoins which is looking shaky right now. If we come over to the total altcoin market cap, you can clearly see this brutal downtrending line of resistance. We managed to break bullishly above this in April. When we came back for the retest, we kept on hitting our head against the same trend line, and in the past few weeks we have broken back down beneath it. You can see on the week commencing the 5th of June, we broke bearishly underneath the trend line. In the week that we just closed yesterday on Sunday, you can see we had another weekly close underneath it. So what we've done is we've broken beneath it, we've bounced back up on the weekly time frame, retesting the trend line as resistance, and right now we have just opened a new candle for the week, sitting right on the trend line. Things are not looking too good for the altcoin market cap right now. In my opinion, altcoins are setting up for a rather brutal move to the downside. Now, how does this specifically affect GALA? Well, first of all, in terms of where GALA is in the macro time frame, you can see over on the left side of the screen we have the VPVRs, the volume profiles for the visible range, and if we're looking at where we are right now, you can really see there is not a lot of volume traded down in these regions. I've highlighted this many times before. When you come into these big clusters of volume, you can see we've traded for months and months and months at a time, and as soon as you seem to fall into this cluster down here where there's not much volume, you can see we've had knee-jerk reactions down before, knee-jerk reactions back up. When we really retested this volume cluster as resistance and broke back down, you can see we set up that knee-jerk reaction back down. And if we're looking at what's happening right here, this is a continuation pattern which could be letting us know that GALA is getting ready to once again rush to the downside, potentially in the same manner as we had with this massive bearish engulfing candle. Now, why do I say this? Well, let's come over to the daily time frame. We recently highlighted on the channel how we had this huge bearish pennant which broke bearish, of course, and the price target of this is all the way down, literally very interestingly, right on the previous bear market lows at 1.54 cent for GALA games. Now, as we did break to the downside of this, you can see that we found a little bit of support on this orange line. What this orange line is simply the 786 Fibonacci from the low to the high right here. Found a tiny bit of support on the 786, and then we broke down to this green trend line right down here where you can see we found support. If we zoom out even further, you can see this was the listing price. This is where GALA was listed on a bunch of popular exchanges, down at roughly 2 cents. This was over on Binance and many other exchanges. Like I said, we won't dive too deep into this, but on the daily time frame, since breaking down from all of these structures, since breaking down from this massive bearish pennant, we of course are still continuing down to the macro price target at 1.5 cent, but you can see in the lower time frames on the daily now, we are forming a new bearish pattern. That is a typical bear flag. Now, bear in mind, in my opinion, this is not the most beautiful bear flag I've ever seen. If we do come over to the 4-hour time frame, you can definitely see that we do have this clear ascending channel, which most of the time these do have a higher likelihood of breaking bearish. You can clearly see that we do have a bearish flag structure at this moment in time. If we are drawing from the high that we just recently fell down from, you can kind of see GALA almost came up to the orange ratio, the 0.5 Fibonacci, the golden ratio, should I say, and we did get rejected. And since then, we've moved back down to the bottom of the bear flag. Now, as of the time of recording this on the 4-hour time frame, you can see that the 4-hour EMA ribbons are tightening, getting ready for a very, very explosive move. This is probably going to come very, very soon. If we do manage to get squished underneath the 4-hour EMA ribbons, around about 2.3 cent, you could see the EMA ribbons get tighter and tighter and tighter. This would be indicative that a very big move is coming. And as a consequence, if we do manage to fall to the downside of this bear flag, well then yeah, the 4-hour EMA ribbons could be extremely tight and we could be breaking down from a whole new pattern in of itself. So if we do draw the price target of this following bear flag, you can actually see this would be calling for a move down to 1.4 cent. Not a great difference from where we've previously called for new bear market lows or just coming down to the bear market market lows at 1.5 cent. But really, this is just another continuation pattern showing us what's happening for GALA. In terms of the daily time frame, you can see that the EMA ribbons, we are beneath them. These are really plummeting to us to the downside right now. Even if we chop sideways for the next few days or the next week or so, we'll potentially catch up to the daily EMA ribbons and then get ready for a breakdown. Either way, I personally don't think it will take that long. I think looking at what's happening in the lower time frames, and also judging by the fact that Bitcoin closed a weekly candle beneath the 200-week moving average and the total altcoin market cap just closed beneath resistance, I think GALA is setting up for that next move back down to the downside. That is really the main focus of today's video. If we do come over to some of our other charts, you can clearly see as well, if we get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this. This is one of the charts that we've been highlighting. If we look at this neckline right here, you can see we had a massive M pattern. We broke down, retested the neckline. We've got a price target down here at 1.4 cent. This is in beautiful correlation to this bear flag price target, which we have just highlighted. Once again, we also do have the original bearish pennant price target down at 1.5 cent. All in all, there's a lot of confluence going on down at these lower regions, which in my opinion is going to indicate that GALA Games is very likely to come back down for one final massive break back down to the downside. I also do want to highlight, if we do clear up everything, just to make everything nice and clear, get rid of these, load up the fixed range volume profiles, what you can see is there is a cluster of liquidity, cluster of volume right at this level right here. There is a cluster of volume right at this level down here. What did we do? We were trading within this massive volume cluster, trading in this region for absolutely ages. What did we do? We whiplashed all the way down to this volume cluster, and we are pushing back up and retesting this volume cluster to the upside. This is also almost correlating to a retest on the daily EMA ribbons. Not quite yet. There is a little bit of a move to be made to the upside if that does happen. I personally don't think GALA Games has too much room to move to the upside though. We're going to discuss the weekly stochastic RSI and could it be bottoming in a second. But first of all, I want to show you the daily. The daily stochastic RSI, like we said, we're coming in for that retest of the volume profile. We're coming in for that retest of the daily EMA ribbons, and the daily stochastic RSI is coming up and almost hitting 90 right now on the short-term moving average. Now, GALA Games typically tends to top out round about the 97 to 100 region, so it is possible for the next day or so we could remain a tiny bit range bound, but in my opinion, my prediction is we either start breaking down in the next 24 to 48 hours, or we start breaking down immediately. I really don't think that we're going to be holding up on this level for a couple of weeks or so. If we do come over to the oscillators, you might be looking at the weekly, and the weekly stochastic RSI looks like it's relatively close to a bottom at this moment in time. We've actually highlighted previously on the channel where if you do look at where the stochastic RSI is, you know, round about where we are right now, we're coming down to round about 1 for the stochastic RSI. There have been numerous times, if we realign these, where the oscillator has gone right down to 0/1, and sometimes it's had a bounce. Over here, we had a bounce for a few weeks before getting annihilated. Over here, we clearly had a nice bounce for a few weeks before obviously rolling back down to the downside. This is what we're witnessing now, but there have been numerous times where the stock has just remained absolutely flat one, and we've continued to bleed out for long periods of time. So this is really what I'm seeing for GALA Games right now. Most indicators, most chart patterns, most macro charts, whether you're looking at the altcoin market cap and Bitcoin trading underneath the 200-week moving average, everything's looking pretty shaky right now. Of course, we had GALA BTC, which I've been religiously saying these altcoin BTC pairs are leading indicators for the alt USD pairs. And this, in the past 3 weeks, has broken down into new bear market lows. And right now, it looks like it's retesting the previous bear market lows as resistance before continuing back down to the downside. So all in all, my perspective on GALA Games hasn't changed in the past few weeks or months. I still think we're going to continue with this linear downtrend to the downside, just like we've been calling for quite some time now. If we do come over to our price targets in the macro time frame since our last video, it's been about 8 days or so. Do bear in mind on the weekly time frame, we have just started a new weekly candle. So our last prediction for GALA Games was round about here. We were calling for a 66% drop all the way down to 1 cent. Now, why 1 cent? 1 cent is a listing price on a ton of popular exchanges like KuCoin. There's 1.618 Fibonacci's down here. I believe there was also a 1.236 Fibonacci somewhere around this region. There is also 1 cent being the psychological price target. There's just a lot of confluence down here at 1 cent. And like we previously stated, there's a lot of confluence between 1.5 and 1.4 cent, which is letting me know that we should be coming down to new bear market lows. So since our last prediction, we have broken down about 25%. We broke down more than this, but we of course have had a short-term bounce. In general, my opinion hasn't changed. I still think that we do come all the way down to 1 cent, and this is, from where we are right now, a 55% drop in the market. So for today, my friends, that's all I've got. Just a relatively quick update on GALA Games. Just wanted to let you know what I'm seeing in the lower time frames, higher time frames, and with these new patterns that are developing right now. There's a lot of important retests happening right now, which are correlating with overextensions in oscillators, retests of moving averages, retests of EMA ribbons, retests of volume profiles. Everything in general looks like we are just having a tiny bit of chop before that next move back down to the downside. So there we go. You know my price targets, you know my thoughts. For today, that's all I've got. If you do enjoy my content, make sure to let me know down below by leaving a like and a comment. Share the videos with your friends. If you want to further support the channel, feel free to click the join button and become a member today. Follow me over on Twitter at 618_Cowboy. That's all I've got. It's been your boy Cowboy Trades. I'm out. Peace.